Why does Jesus commend the act of this poor widow? Today's Gospel, which is taken from Luke chapter 21, we have Jesus analyzing the rich who are putting from their surplus gifts to the treasury, and a poor widow who is offering her all that she had in her earnings. Now, while looking at this Gospel passage, we can ask this question: why does Jesus commend the act of this poor widow and almost discrediting or giving a lesser value to the act of the rich people? I believe Jesus has something to teach us. The first thing that I suppose Jesus wants to tell us, whatever actions that we do, they reveal our basic orientation. This poor widow, by doing this act of putting all that she had in her earning into the treasury, she was revealing a particular spirituality from that of the rich people. The rich people surely had satisfaction of fulfilling a religious duty, as we read in Malachi chapter 3:10, where God is blessing people when they give tithes, and the rich people would have benefited from that. But at the same time, Jesus wants to tell us that this is something beyond. The action of this poor widow is something beyond the normal expectation from an ordinary person. This poor widow, when she put in all that she had, she was actually proclaiming to the Lord that her heart is not resting on the wealth. For we are told in Matthew chapter 6:19 onwards, where your treasure is, there will your heart also. This poor widow was telling us that her heart is with God. To live with one copper coin is fine for a widow. She needed one coin. And as a poor widow, she may be able to earn only one copper coin a day, and another coin would have been all her earning. And she put all that in the treasury. That means she is telling that her heart is for God. She was giving herself completely to the Lord, declaring that all her security is God. She is declaring that God is sufficient for her. She was the poor of Yahweh, and that God's blessing is sufficient for her. My dear brothers and sisters, as we analyze this incident into our life, we all look forward to securities. We want financial security, social security, relational security, all these things we need. But this poor widow, she was able to renounce all these securities and put her trust in the Lord, proclaiming Him as her only security. And what reward she would get? Malachi chapter 3:16 says that the righteous and wicked people will be rewarded accordingly. And a rich person who was putting the tithes would be rewarded accordingly. We are told in chapter 3 of Malachi, verse 10. But when we read chapter 6 of Luke's Gospel, verse 38, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. So what will be the reward of this poor widow? Her reward is God Himself. When God is our reward, when God becomes our concern, our security, He brings us happiness. Today's world, we are looking for happiness. Sometimes we may have everything else in this world, but we may not have happiness. And God promises this happiness. Jesus is commending the spirituality of this poor widow. We have so many spiritualities in the church. Carmelite spirituality, Franciscan spirituality, Dominican spirituality. Sometimes I envy the spirituality of this poor widow. As a result of this envying, I would prefer to ask for the grace from the Lord to understand the spirituality of this poor widow and respond to Him by making my every attempt to give myself to Him completely.